Welcome to Heaping Spoonful, a twice-monthly conversation with restaurateurs, chefs, growers, and others who have helped generate the legends associated with the eateries across the Mid-South. The team at Benny Keith is proud to sponsor this adventure with the goal of preserving the stories that have helped cultivate an amazing food scene across the Mid-South. So kick back and enjoy a Heaping Spoonful.
Greetings, everybody out there in podcast land, and welcome to Heaping Spoonful. I'm your host, Kelly Bass, and I really appreciate Benny Keith Foods giving me the chance to visit with many of the top chefs and restaurateurs from across the Mid-South here on Heaping Spoonful. I have been a foodie long before that term was ever invented, and for the better part of 30 years, I had the privilege of writing dining reviews and other features about restaurants and chefs for a couple of Little Rock newspapers, and then later for Little Rock magazines, long before the internet gave everybody a chance to be a food critic. And I'm going to tell you something, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart. I like talking about food more than writing about food. Today, our guest is Scott Rains, the executive chef at Table 28, which has long been a favorite on the western side of Little Rock, Arkansas. And it's a restaurant that is always mentioned when people who know things list the city's best restaurants. So welcome to Heaping Spoonful, Scott.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Glad you are. I will say, in the fickle and volatile world of restaurants, and therefore of the chefs who work wonders in their kitchens, turnover and movement are constant themes. Restaurants open, sadly, restaurants close. Chefs change jobs. Several of the chefs, as a matter of fact, we've been doing this for 4 years now, and several of the chefs who've been featured on Heaping Spoonful don't work at the same restaurant they did when they recorded this podcast. They have moved on to do other things. Some have moved a couple of times, and that's all fine. But not you, Scott. And I will say shame on us for not having you on Heaping Spoonful years ago. You only made sense, and I appreciate Rusty Mathis saying, hey, we need to get Scott on there. And for those who don't know, Rusty Mathis is the general manager of Benny Keith's Mid-South division, and the guy who thought up not only this podcast, but the name for it, because he's really a marketer above and beyond all else. So you and your fabulous restaurant are fixtures in Little Rock, and we were just talking, we're recording this in late August of 2023, and you are just about to celebrate, or you have celebrated 10 years at Table 28, right?
Irony, huh?
Yeah. But I mean, that's a long haul. It's same name, same restaurant, same location, same executive chef.
It is. I remember 4 years ago when Rusty was saying, "Hey, we got to do this podcast." You know, I was just sitting in his office right over here, across the hall here, and hey, we got to do this. I'm doing this podcast now. I'm like, oh man, yeah, we got to do it. This is 4 years ago. I don't believe that. And not only that, yeah, it's 10 years ago that we started 2013, and we started Table 28. And I just remember something quickly that my dad told me that it just stuck in my head. He said, you know, I called him crying. I don't know, 5 or 6 years into this particular journey. He said, I just called him crying. I said, Dad, I don't think I can do this. I just don't think I can do this anymore. I don't want to. And he's like, oh, hell. He said, son, listen, you just get up, you wake up, put your feet on the floor, you look up the ceiling, you make sure this is real. He said, just look at it. It's there. This is it. And he said, you get your ass up, boy, out of bed, and you just go. He said, and believe me, trust me, you'll be surprised how far you can go and what you can do. He said, you just got to get up and do it. He said, you don't have no choice, son.
Right.
Well, I'll be down.
Well, the other thing is you know what you're doing, and I will tell you, at the risk of embarrassing you, many people I trust most to be really close watchers and samplers in the Little Rock dining scene. Again, the folks who appreciate fine dining, appreciate fabulous restaurants, they're huge fans of Table 28, and they're huge fans of yours. And I'm sure you felt that love from a lot of folks who've been loyal to you for the 10 years you've been open, or some part thereof.
Absolutely. It's been, seeing customers with their children, watching them grow, whether they're my age, younger, older, doesn't matter. I mean, we have a very diverse, age group of clientele. We have, and to watch that, it's special, and it's really, it holds a place in my heart, and it still does, daily. And I've seen. Yeah, I definitely feel the love and the respect and everything that, and that's the reward of it. Sure. I think a lot of it.
Yeah, and I've asked the questions a lot of times to chefs on this podcast, and the number of people say, I just like to see people enjoying my food. You get that instant gratification of someone takes a bite and they're like, oh man, this is fabulous, and you're like, hey. That is the ultimate reward. A lot of us work and we hope for great long-term results, but you're seeing it every day right there at table 28. So looking back for a minute on your 10 years, now that we're marking a milestone, do you think your cooking or your restaurant have changed much over the years? Or have you been pretty consistent with the way you've been doing things?
No, and we'll get to some of this, but yeah, after the transition, I came into it with a wide range of organ meats and definitely out of the box. I was wanting to be out there where nobody else would go, and I was, and it wasn't accepted as much, because I would do these little cooking classes at like eggshells or whatever, and I had the wild hair. Yeah, let's do in these classes, they'll fill up in like minutes, not even hours, and I decided to do one on organ meats. I think 12 people showed up, and I think I was lucky to get that many. Did they love it? Yes. Is it super interesting and that you could make something out of the heart, the liver? I mean, some of the things you can do with these organ meats I think they're delicious, and just knowing what to do, how to cleanse them, prepare them, and whatnot. But yeah, there was a big transition to going from that to a more elevated, comforting style, familiar menu items, and just, kind of going with that and just embracing that and making that, the best we can. Things
people are used to and more comfortable with. I just had the chance to meet Matt Bell, who is started Origami Sake, and he admits one of the things I got to do is teach people what it is. I mean, you start making bourbon or you start making wine or you start making beer. Hey, people are very familiar. Well, you start trying to get people interested in hearts and livers and other assorted organs, and they may learn to love it, but it's not their natural fallback. And your menu shows the variety of what you're doing, and you're doing well. So internet research is a podcaster's best friend, for sure. And many of the themes and dishes that you've been known for over the years are still on the menu, or they come and go. The quail lollies have been mentioned since the get-go. The veal bone marrow, which I don't think you have on the menu right now, but we know it's coming back at some point. The sticky toffee pudding, which you told me you took off for a month or two and there was mutiny, and so you put it back. But I mean, when you have a loyal clientele and they come to love something, it's tough to take that kind of stuff off the menu. You can't take it from them. And I get that as a consumer, as a chef and a consumer. I mean, why would you do that? Why would anybody do that? I did take that sticky toffee off the menu, and I was, it was a mistake. Yeah, I thought I was going to get assaulted, but no, you just got to. If that's what somebody's asking for, I mean, it's a no-brainer. I mean, why would you not give it to them? Sure. I mean, that's. Yeah, and like you said, I mean, it may be oversimplification to say the customer's always right, but certainly when somebody is coming to your place with their mouth set for sticky toffee pudding, you want to give them a chance to have it. But again, you've already talked about you've made some changes over time, and your focus. And I think 10 years ago, the cliched phrase of farm to table was not as used as often as it is now. But I mean, you've always sourced as many ingredients as you can locally. We're sitting right down the way. We both were talking before we started recording about Me and McGee, which is a market down the way that, I'm going to go grab some tomatoes and some peaches when I leave here but you obviously work with farmers outside the farmers market sort of scenario and always have. So that I guess gives you opportunities to mix and match things based on what's available. Well, yeah, that being said, that
It's very with Logan Duvall over at Mia and McGee. He makes that he kind of simplifies a solution for a lot of chefs. If they, I wish they have that resource, and I recommend they use it because it's right there. And what he does is resource all the most regional, whatever we have, what's ever available. He's going to have it, and he can get it. And other than just the small farmers and your mushroom farmers or whatever you've got. But that me and McGee, that's,
yeah.
It's awesome.
Well, he takes a lot of the work out. It's a one-stop shop.
It's a depot, man.
And like I said, I've been over there all summer. Like I said, we're recording this in late August and, feasting on Cherokee purple tomatoes. Well, they were from Arkansas. Well, now they're from Tennessee. And you said they might even be moving to Missouri later, and the peaches, I think, are from Virginia. But you know what? They are fabulous.
That's regional sourcing.
Sure.
It might be 5 states over, but where else are you getting them that close even? So
that's true.
Yeah.
So, again, knowing that you have constants and then knowing you have the ability to use what you can source here, does the menu change much or does it hang pretty tight for a while until you get an inspiration to do something different?
It does. It hangs, and I reach and I grab and I just dream and I try to travel and try to eat at places I want to go and things that I want to experiment with or that I'm just so intrigued by. But every season, when the season changes, we try to on-dot that date. We're on on a routine of changing that menu. And the inspiration, it is the inspirational cycle of the menu is whatever I have experienced or whatever I want to go with, whatever I really want to cook and share with the people. My customers, of course.
For sure. But again, it keeps it fresh and fun for you and your team too, because again, you're the executive chef, but that doesn't mean that you're in there every minute of every day creating every dish. So I'm sure you have built a team in that kitchen that you're confident in, comfortable with, and they understand your vision, and then they get to, show some of their own creativity, and you're happy and confident with the quality of the food that's coming out.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Table 28, for those who don't know, is housed in the Burgundy Hotel, which is in West Little Rock. It doesn't feel as far west as once it did. And other than, so there are maybe a couple of hotels in Little Rock, most notably the Capitol Hotel downtown that's renowned for their restaurants, but that's really more the exception than the rule. So after a decade, you're used to having a restaurant in a hotel, but would you say there are challenges of that setup?
There is, and the challenges are really, they're minimal. They're very slight. For example, if you have, because we have to facilitate that property. There's only 49 rooms.
Okay.
Kind of glad, but we have to facilitate that. If somebody, they call down we do full room service on the trays to the room, and but if somebody calls down, it's Friday night, we only have 2 bartenders. One of the bartenders we have an attendant that can, it's hard to break somebody off. And if they just want a cup of water, a glass of water or tea, but we don't say no.
Yeah.
That's what we do. No is not an answer. Yeah, it might be. Yes, sir. It'll be 30 minutes, but we'll get it up there to you, no problem. But there's just minor.
Yeah. Well, I would guess. In fact, I wouldn't just guess. I guarantee you, there are people, and obviously they have a copy of your menu in the room. They can call down and have you bring it to them. They're like, "Damn, son, this is so much better than what I get at the hotels where I usually am." Which you're lucky to get a prepackaged Danish or a turkey sandwich and some limp fries. So I was curious though, you're a dinner only place. What are the folks there that are guests in those 49 rooms? Are they on their own for breakfast and lunch, or are there another place there within the hotel they can get something?
They have quick grab bites available for like lunch, and if they come in late, the restaurants close. They have to have that available, but they're a full service cook to order breakfast that I'm not affiliated with. But it's delicious. It's good. It's very consistent, and that menu changes frequently as well.
Okay, so they're not going hungry there. They're just not getting your food except at night for sure. Okay, everybody, we appreciate you listening to this episode of Heaping Spoonful. We're going to take a short break. We'll be back in just a bit with Scott Rains of Table 28 in Little Rock, Arkansas.
I hope you're enjoying this episode of Heaping Spoonful. We at Benny Keith Foods enjoy talking about the food scene almost as much as we enjoy providing the top quality ingredients that help restaurateurs and chefs across the Mid-South create their magic. Now let's dive even deeper into the culinary world with your host, Kelly Bass.
Welcome back, everybody, to Heaping Spoonful as we continue our conversation with Scott Rains. Before we dig into your menu items in a little some detail, let's talk about your background. So tell our Heaping Spoonful listeners when you first became interested in cooking.
I was at a real ripe young age. Both sides of my family, mother, father, were, amazing cooks. Amazing cooks. Actually, my other side, he's a trained chef. My grandfather.
Wow.
He worked at the Avenel in the Arlington, was a chef at Arlington. I mean, it's 40s, 50s. It's been a while back. And I didn't really think of anything of it then. It could have been in my blood or in my genes. I was just kind of always trying to get on a chair and get on that stove and help my papa cook the breakfast or whatever. And they'd turn me loose. They'd let me go at it here and there. And it kind of clicked. And, it wasn't long after that till I realized, you got high school coming up and then I got to do something here. And, and I was already working in kitchens and just barbecue joint.
Did you grow up in Little Rock? Or?
In Malvern.
Malvern.
Actually,
okay, cool.
I after sixth grade here, my mother got remarried and, to a man that lived in Malvern, Arkansas, about 45 minutes south of here. Everybody knows where Malvern is. Home of the Mighty Leopards.
Yep. And a lot of bricks.
A lot of Acme brick plant. That's right. And we lived real close to that. And food has always been a huge part of culture and life. And the southern life. There was a lot of the greens and ham hocks and beans and potatoes. And if you had cornbread there would be cornbread on the table. We weren't biscuit guys, but we had a lot of cornbread. That was the meal for a king for me. That's what I kind of knew.
Right.
And then from there, it was just...
So you worked in restaurants and, figured out you were pretty good at it. Did you go to culinary school?
I did. I went to the California Culinary. I actually... After high school, in 1988, I joined the Army Reserves, and then in 89, I kept seeing this, before even cell phones. We didn't even have cell phones. And this commercial kept coming on TV, these people with the pretty white chef coats and these tall white paper hats, and I was like, what in the world? And it kept coming on, California Culinary Academy, so... Man, I called that number up, took their little quiz or whatever it was, and they, oh yeah, you passed. Yeah, we want your money.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, all right. So two cardboard boxes. Mother put me on the plane. She went with me and tucked me in, but man, it was a scary sight hitting San Francisco on the streets.
So you're what, maybe 20 by then, or
19.
19.
Yeah.
And a Malvern boy loose in San Francisco.
Oh my God! My first week there was I was terrified. I didn't know what to do.
Yeah, it's a different sort of world.
About a month went by, and I just and just remembering what Daddy said, boy.
1 foot in front of the other, right?
Yeah, and it grew on me, and I fell in love with that city. I didn't even know if I was ever really going to want to leave it.
Yeah, well, I can see that particularly.
It was an attachment.
So after you got out of culinary school, did you stay in the area to work?
I did. I was, there's a fine line between cooks and chefs, and you get out, you graduate. These kids, they go to these culinary schools, and they come out thinking, okay, I'm going to be a chef. I'm going to get paid. I'm going to get to do this and do that. It wasn't anything like that. You have to work. I worked 7 days a week for probably 3 years that I know of. But it wasn't for anything. It was just to learn.
Sure. Just
to learn from everywhere I went. I had 3 different jobs, 7 days a week, went to school full time. And that's something that is just something that I can't forget. You can't get that out of your head.
Well, there's a lot of non-glamorous work that's involved in creating the food that goes out on the plates. I mean, there's, every station is not a glorious saute station or whatever or pastries or whatever. I mean, there's a lot of chopping and
$7 an hour.
Yeah. Yeah. And
That was it.
And probably happy to get it. So,
Yeah.
So you stayed and worked in restaurants there. And then what brought you back to Arkansas, and what were the particulars about leaving California and coming back here? And what did you come back here to do other than to be closer to family and that kind of thing?
I did. I was momentarily going through a divorce in 2004. My mother was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. And then in 2007, I packed my bags. I left there, and I came home to spend her last days with her. And I took off 6-8 months. And I mean, I was by her side, and we were just chilling her little peaceful home on the lake, and on Lake Hamilton in Hot Springs.
Yeah. And
I have no regrets. That's the most memorable time I had with her and me together. Just those times are just, they're timeless, and I'll never, forget it. And I just cherish those moments. And so I did, after 6 months or so, I got a job there in Hot Springs, what I call a content job, just something because you kind of have to do something for your mind, body, and soul still. You have to pick yourself up and go.
Sure.
I was the executive chef at the Hot Springs Country Club.
Yeah.
And I tried to elevate that the best I could as far as those guys were set on their ways. I loved the members, got along with everybody well. Barry Howard, the GM, the golf pro, learned from a few things from him, and especially about golf. But that was basically that, and to go into that, into the next. So I had a restaurant in 99 through 2004 outside of Hot Springs. It was in a little blueberry vineyard called Horseshoe Vineyard. Those that know, you guys know about that, and we all remember it, and good memories. I was working there, and my clientele was they were from West Little Rock, and a mutual friend of mine and the owner of the hotel, Bew Macon, which is, now a very good acquaintance of mine. But we didn't know each other at all. And we were put together. Yeah. And
he said, "Why don't you come put a restaurant in my hotel?"
Well, the Vesuvios was occupying.
Yeah.
And their lease was up. They weren't going to renew. They wanted to expand. They wanted to do more. They said, "We're tired of making people wait. Let's make more money," what have you. Yeah.
They moved to
I tried to even talk to them because I loved that place.
Yeah, it was in its day.
I was very hesitant. I didn't really even want to do this. I didn't want to take the project on. I had no plans. I didn't even, and so that being said, they were going to move out, and we moved in, and we transformed this in a couple of. It was actually quite drastic. It was actually drastic. It was just very plain blah thrown together. There was nothing behind it really, and I'll say, and along with that, you had all the organ meats all up and down the menu, and I was in a lost for cause place, but with that, just keeping your head down and keeping going, and that's all part of that. That's all that energy,
right.
know.
So again, they were successful in recruiting you to come up and take that project on. And Vesuvio, my memory is that the founder had died. Is that right? And then
Rosario, yes.
Rosario had died, and I think a little bit rudderless. On the last couple of times I ate there, before they moved, and the only time I ate there after they moved, it wasn't quite what it was. But again, the founder is no longer with you, and things change. But you moved into that spot, and again, you started differently than you are today. But man, that's definitely excuse me, a big thing to take on. But 10 years later, things have continued to go great, for sure. And I'll tell you, our listeners, particularly our local ones that are around Little Rock, I've been told that they love knowing the stories of the chefs and the restaurateurs in our region's top restaurants. They want to hear about the food. So maybe they can salivate a little bit before they come eat with you. So now let's dig a little bit into your menu. And again, I'm working off what I'm seeing online. And so if something's changed, just tell me. But I looked at the appetizers. I mean, the gumbo, the smoked quail gumbo. I'm a gumbo guy. I don't think I've had it with quail. Definitely not smoked quail. Octopus chimichurri. It's not organ meat, but it's still a little out there for some folks. Are those around? And tell us about those.
They are. Quail is something I've had a love for back, like when I moved to Malvern. That was a big thing for my stepfather, Jack Coleman. He would take me quail hunting. We had bird dogs. We'd go. He's gone. We'd be running the roads, getting the cart over. We'd find birds, and we shot a lot of birds, and we'd bring them home, and we'd have quail biscuits and gravy, and just would have fried quail for dinner. Of course, we never grilled it or baked it or did anything else with it or smoked it. But I did. Every once in a while, I would take them and butterfly them and grill them out and marinate them and grill them and do things. And they would look at me so funny because they wanted that Kentucky fried quail.
Yeah, exactly.
Chicken.
Batter it up.
But hey, was it the best? Yes, of course it was. But special love for quail, and that's on the menu now, and it's going over well. People really enjoy the quail gumbo. And octopus is something that we've had on the menu probably from day one until now. I have an octopus tattooed on my arm. That's how much I really care about octopus.
And a good-looking tomato, I'll have to say,
and a good-looking purple Cherokee tomato that I have true loves for. But with the octopus, we slow braise it in court bouillon until it's tender, and then we just kind of pan sear it, just kind of char it a little bit in the pan, and right now it's with these big old butter beans that are marinated into a salad, a cool salad, and then just the octopus on top. Real simple.
Sounds great. And then moving down the menu a little bit, you have shareables, which are, again, in beef tartare, which if you think you don't like it because it's not cooked, trust me, it's not like eating a raw hamburger patty. The herbs and the spices and the things that are made there. So tell us about the beef tartare, the quail lollies we've talked about. I know what they are. And then I really enjoyed because I watched a little video that I think maybe Heather Baker was involved in, where you talked about your chicken skins, which have pimento cheese with them. Mm-hmm. Oh, man. Talk about a little bit about those three, if you don't mind.
Well, the beef tartare, like you said, it's not just like hamburger. It's prime aged beef that we have sourced Arkansas City, Kansas. We get it right here through Benny Keith, and it is excellent beef. It's always good, consistently, year after year after year. I've never had an issue with it. Very, very delicious. They do.
What are the major things that add to the flavor profile?
Well, we put shallots, chopped, and I go classic on this, and I don't always do classic, but this time around I do. It's olive oil, lemon juice, shallots, chopped capers, parsley, salt, and a little Dijon mustard.
Yep.
Super classic. But those ingredients, they really tang the beef and make it very complimenting.
So the quail lollies, are they just? People think about little lollies being lamb usually, but I guess what piece of the quail is that?
It's the minced whole quail, actually. Oh, okay. It's the breast. I take the leg meat. I do all that. And it's not a true lollipop or it's on the bone. We put a bamboo stick in it after we mince it, but it looks like a little sucker, a little lollipop. So
you make a little patty out of it.
Yeah, like a little meatball, like a little quail meatball. And then we just roll it in seasoned crumbs and we pan fry it up. And yeah, that's definitely been on the menu. And that's another one of those items. If you haven't been there, it's if we take that off the menu, there'll be problems as well.
Well, don't do it. And then let's talk about because I love I love getting chicken skins crispy. And tell us about how you do those.
Oh, it's just think about your pork rinds in a bag. This is like not as a puffy, thick version of those, but so chicken flavored, just enhanced chicken flavor, just the flavor of chicken oil and crispiness in your face. And then you put the homemade pimento cheese and a tangy hot pepper jelly that's sweet and tangy.
I'll tell you, I've had breakfast. It's only 9:43 a.m. and I'm hungry. Your entrees, and we talked about, how you started and what you were introducing people to. And again, do it very well. People like it, but it's not is what they're used to necessarily. But if you look at Table 28 and go to their website, they have a nice website. It's very easy to navigate and to see what they've got. But you got a couple of vegetarian choices at the top. You got a pork dish, chicken, duck, a couple of steaks, a burger, and a 12-hour braised oxtail. So just talk about a few of those. I see you use a Ralston rice. You tout that. So you're proud of and you tout that beef from Arkansas City, Kansas too. They probably call it Arkansas City, but I don't call it.
They do.
They don't. I call their steak Kansas. So that we didn't just to get back at them. So talk about a few of those things. I mean, like I'm interested in the braised oxtail because I don't know that a lot of people know what that is exactly.
Well, we have all the bases covered. That's why we have the pork. We have a chicken, you have a duck, steaks, of course, and then a burger. We haven't always had, but burger is one of the better things there, I believe, because we do grind our own meat daily, and
that same meat that you use.
The trimmings, and then I'll get more of that in the prime brisket, and just grind it all together for a very flavorful burger that just has olive oil, salt, and pepper on it. And then that 12-hour braised oxtail, that's definitely one of my favorite dishes on the menu. The oxtail doesn't come from an ox. We don't see those very much anymore.
Nope.
But cattle, it'll come from the toot. They'll cut the tail off the cow, and then you've got a whole tail that could be like 2 to 3 feet in length, but in that tail, there's a bone, a little spiny like bone that runs through there, and then there's some cartilage. You go between each joint, and you just cut them out. We just sear it, and then we put it in. I have curry. I have my own curry plants. I grind up the curry leaves, and I'll take my own masala spices, which is too much to name. There's like 14 different things in there. And then we'll just put it in the oven. We'll let it go real low for about 12 hours. And it just falls off the bone and melts in your mouth. Of course, it's on Ralston rice and some veggies that just pick from Arkansas natural produce. And that's probably definitely one of my favorites. And the oxtail's been on the menu for the last probably 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, that sounds great.
And it goes well.
Extremely tender and pot roasty in terms of its
just comforting.
And I've also again been told lots of times you really can't go wrong with having a good steak and a good burger, and you've got both of those. And you start with the high quality meat. So the next section down says water, and it's things that swim around in the water. And you have shrimp, you have sea bass, and you have calamari. But I like your treatments. Again, there's a lot of ways to do those three things, but you do them differently. I mean, so talk about shrimp, sea bass, and calamari.
Well, the shrimp, we definitely want to source the Gulf shrimp. The other one, to me, they have just either brown or white. Doesn't matter to me. You can really taste the difference when you get into shrimp. There's a big difference. If you put the Ocean Garden or the pen raised or whatever, I mean, there's totally a difference. And so I'm definitely big on getting the Gulf shrimp. The sea bass, that's sourced usually through out of Hollywood, Florida, out of South Florida, a fish that's a black sea bass. And
how do you prepare that sea bass? Just
pan sear it. It's pan seared on top of corn with chorizo and Calabrian chili peppers. And then we wilt some tatsoi, which is a little Japanese-style spinach, and just put it on top. It's a real simple, but sea bass is, you really don't have to do a whole lot to sea bass.
Right.
It's just such a oily, just nice, refreshing fish.
And flavorful.
It's very, very flavorful. And then the calamari, which I've been using Turner's out of New Zealand, and it's a product that is available. He's joined with Benny Keith Foods, and he came and saw me and whatever restaurants that would have him in their kitchen and talk to him. But he's a full little packed energy, little fun guy. But he gave me some good beetroot powder and some pills and stuff. And boy, I was bouncing off the walls like him. But that calamari, it's a fun dish. It's a real summer dish. We do it with, it's the rings. We do the calamari rings, which is from the tentacle. We just slice, and then it comes with sauteed pineapple and some local source chili peppers, some onions, and fresh basil, whatever types of. I usually have 2 or 3 different types of basil always in the kitchen this time of year. It's another thing that does well in Arkansas. Mm-hmm. And it's just a bright, refreshing, real light summer dish, just on top of rice.
Yeah. Well, before we close, talk us through some of your, you have a list of sides that, again, not all the typical stuff. And then you've got some luscious sounding desserts. So just give us a little taste, so to speak, of sides and desserts.
Well, the sides, the Brussels sprouts, it's another one of those things that people come for. I know everybody has the Brussels sprouts and they've caught on. Everybody flash fries them, and then after that, it really doesn't matter a whole lot what you do to it because they're going to be a hit. Mm-hmm. We hit ours with just a mixture of honey, soy, and a little vinegar. Then we have a rosemary crema. And then currently we are doing a pistachio crumble that we just kind of top on it to give it just a little more texture. I know the leaves are crispy and bitter and sweet, but the pistachios do work well. And then we do a dried chili of togarhache, which is a red chili seasoning that really brightens up and brings out even more flavor. And to name a few, mac and cheese, which is very common, but we put a nice one of those big old fat chicken skins on there, and we hit it with chow chow. And we put about 7 different types of cheese in there. I'm talking Gruyere, mozzarella, provolone, and just a whole bunch of cheeses, cheddar. And our greens are probably I think the greens there are probably one of the best things we make in our restaurant. It's like a half a day project.
It's turnip greens?
They're usually collards.
Collards, yeah. Oh,
from
I've got some collards fans.
Arkansas Natural, and sometimes I'll put mustard. They have mustard, and sometimes we'll do. I like, but mainly people like the mild collard greens. I've noticed they enjoy those a lot better, just straight collards, which is okay. We cook them with the smoked ham hocks from Rabbit Ridge Farms or Petit Jean. Whatever, and whoever.
Go wrong with either of those.
No way.
Yeah.
And that base is that broth. I just cook that down until they're literally just falling off the bone. And then I put a lot of chili and vinegar and just season it up. And then I just let those greens just till they get tender. And man, they're special. I'm telling you.
Yeah, sounds like it. So what about desserts?
Desserts. That's the old. You got to come there, of course, for the toffee pudding.
Right.
That is something that's it's a English, Scottish, Irish descent. It's something that's very common that you'll see in there. And I've got a lot of Irish in me, and English and Scottish, but it's just there's only 5 ingredients in that dessert. It's just basically a sticky date cake. It's just a date cake, and you steam it in the oven. And they get the name pudding, I guess.
Well, they call a lot of things pudding
English.
that we don't call pudding.
That's right. That's exactly right.
And then
That's
it's got
right.
a sauce with it.
That's a toffee butter sauce.
Oh,
man.
man.
That's just butter, brown sugar, and that's it, and bourbon.
Love toffee. I'm the guy grabbing the Heath bar when I stop at the convenience store on the highway.
Chop them up and put them on anything.
Yeah, well, that all sounds great. I'm so hungry, and it's still not even lunchtime yet. Scott, I want to thank you a lot for being our guest today on Heaping Spoonful. Good luck in all you're continuing to achieve at Table 28. And thanks to everybody who's listening today to Heaping Spoonful. We post new episodes the first and third Tuesdays of each month, so keep an eye and ear out for them. And they're always out there, so if you miss some, go check them out. I appreciate everybody listening. Thanks a lot, and have a great rest of your day.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Heaping Spoonful. On behalf of all of us at Benny Keith Foods, Mid-South Division, please know how much we love connecting you with the legends of the culinary scene and their unique stories. I look forward to the next time we can offer you another Heaping Spoonful.